Meanwhile, the majority of Australians have already backed the idea, despite uncertainty on the details of it. A clear majority of 64% voted in favour of the Albanese government's draft to give First Nations people a more powerful say in the nation's affairs. Joining me now live is from the Heart Director Dean Parkin. Dean, thank you very much for joining us. Interesting survey here, 64% of Australians back the idea. Do you believe, though, that they truly understand what an Indigenous voice to Parliament means?
Thanks, Danica. I think what it shows, it reinforces what we've been experiencing and the conversations that we've been having with Australians really over the last 5 years, more than just more recently when this has become on top of the national agenda. And what we've seen consistently is that there's an enormous amount of goodwill by Australians from all walks of life for a referendum on a voice to Parliament. So I think the real key takeaway here from that poll, it's a welcome poll. Again, it's a one in a series of polls that have shown consistent levels of support, but it shows that underlying this, that Australians are ready to give this a fair go, and that goodwill is real and something that gives us great encouragement.
Who do you believe will be the driving force behind the change? We've seen in recent years young people really focusing on a number of issues in the community like climate change. Are they going to be the ones to really push for this?
We always look to our young people. They're the ones that give us a lot of hope. They have enormous amounts of energy and importantly, fantastic ways of communicating with people across the country. I think the thing that's really interesting about this, I've stopped being surprised by where the support is coming from. It's not just the usual suspects, it's people in the regions, it's people out in the bush that genuinely understand that it's time for a real fair go, and it's time for a real practical change. We just can't keep doing the same things that we've done in the past on Indigenous affairs, and this voice is about making sure that decisions that are made about Indigenous people are informed by the people that know them the best, and that's Indigenous peoples in the communities.
The federal opposition is yet to say if it will come out and support a referendum. What would be your message to them?
Look, I think certainly as Peter Dutton, as the opposition leader, has been clear and consistent. He said that he's got an open mind on this issue, which is important, and he made a very important appointment as Julian Leeser as the Shadow Minister for Indigenous Affairs, who's a strong supporter. So I think it's right. I think they're waiting to see as the process unfolds. But certainly the indications that we've had from the coalition is that they've got an open mind, and that's really important. And I think they will see also that there is public support for this, and that I think will also feed into their thinking about their position on this going forward.
When would you like the government to move on a referendum?
Well, our position has always been by the end of next year. We think that is the real window of opportunity that gives us enough time to have the conversation further with more Australians, get the education out there so people genuinely can reinforce their goodwill with a bit of information about what this is about. And let's just get on with this. This has been a long time in the making. We've been talking about this for decades, 5 years since the Uluru Statement. We've got a Prime Minister that's backing it, and we've got the Australian public that's getting behind it. I think it's just time we got on with it and had that referendum next year.